So Black Ops 4 has been out for about a month now, and I wanted to hold back on my review because I genuinely thought that Treyarch might be able to fix their game, and I felt like in the beginning, since everybody really wanted this game to be great, that I was going to get a lot of hate for making this review. But to be blatantly honest, I absolutely hated Black Ops 4 upon release, and I've given it time over these past couple weeks to settle in, and now that I've played it a little bit more, I don't think it's absolutely terrible, but I still think it's bad and I really don't even like playing it. I think since it was so bad upon release, I completely lost interest in the game, and now I hardly get on it because I know I'm not going to enjoy it whenever I play. So after about 2 weeks, I've came to the conclusion that Black Ops 4 is an unfinished game. There's a lot of things holding Black Ops 4 back from being a good game, and I want to go further into that with this video. So first I want to talk about probably my biggest problem with Black Ops 4, and that's not having a campaign. So this is one of those things that if they did implement it into the game, then it could either be good or bad. Black Ops 3's campaign was absolutely terrible, and I think that was a huge indication that Treyarch was completely out of ideas when it came to storylines. So if Treyarch did end up making a campaign for Black Ops 4, it could have been one of the worst, if not the worst, campaign in Call of Duty history. Or Treyarch could have completely flipped it from Black Ops 3 and started a new, fresh campaign with a good storyline. Personally, I would have liked to seen a campaign in Black Ops 4 because the campaigns in the last couple Call of Duties haven't been the best. And I feel like we needed something that at least kept Call of Duty's roots instead of hopping on the most recent trends. And that kind of takes me into my next topic of Treyarch hopping on these most recent trends and stealing ideas from popular games. So obviously the biggest trend that Treyarch has tried to hop on is the Battle Royale trend. And this is one of those things that I really disliked about Black Ops 4 when I first heard about it. Obviously I like to play Battle Royale games and I like the idea of the game mode. But when you see a game like Fortnite become popular and make so much money, and you try to replicate that with your own game in Battle Royale mode to try and get more people to buy your game, it just shows that 1, you only really care about the popularity of your game, and 2, the original content that you've implemented into the game isn't keeping people interested anymore. I heard that Treyarch claimed that they have been working on this Battle Royale mode since the development of Black Ops 4, but that's really hard for me to believe since the game mode was so dysfunctional upon release. While we're on the topic of trends, I also want to talk about the Black Ops Pass that they've introduced. So we've seen this before with supply drops, and Treyarch just sees this as another way to get some more money out of their players. But basically what the Black Ops Pass is the same thing as Fortnite's Battle Pass with the same kind of tiering system, just extra tiers, and it takes a lot longer to tier up, with no challenges, and it's all based on how much time you've put into the game. But here's the catch. It takes so long to tier up in this Battle Pass that you basically have to grind the game out for at least 4 hours a day, so for a casual player it wouldn't even be possible for them to reach the max tier. This would cause the player to spend more money on the game just so they could get all the unlocks and all the redeemable items in the Battle Pass. This pass already costs $50 alone, so they're basically forcing you to either play their game an absurd amount of time, or just give them more money. I feel like that's a huge ripoff and a huge slap in the face to the loyal players that want the game to succeed. At least with the supply drops in Black Ops 3, they were a lot more easier to obtain. I think they need to make it easier to tier up, because when you make it that hard to reach max tier, it makes me less interested in trying to play the game. Another thing that I think is really bad about Black Ops 4 is the balance of the multiplayer, and the first thing I want to get into with this topic is the specialist characters and their different abilities and gadgets. So the main problem I've seen with the specialists in this game is either one is way too overpowered or one is way too underpowered. So for example, the Prophet and Ajax are probably the top 2 most overpowered specialists in Black Ops 4. Their special abilities and gadgets last way too long, and there's basically no way to counter them. But then you have a specialist like Ruin, where his gravity spike is somewhat useful compared to the other specialists, but his grapple hook does nothing but transport him around the map. I mean, they could have at least made it to where you could actually turn when you use the grapple hook. The shock drone and 9-bang are probably the most annoying gadgets in Black Ops 4, and it doesn't help that you can't even do anything about it when you're sitting there being shocked or flashed for what seems to be an eternity. It also seems like the specialists in Black Ops 4 have so much less customizations than the specialist in Black Ops 3. In Black Ops 3, the specialist had 2 abilities that you could choose from, and you had the option to grind out for the different hero sets for each specialist. I feel like the specialists in Black Ops 4 make the game a lot more hectic and close the skill gap, and honestly I wouldn't mind if they were just taken out of the game completely. I also thought the maps in Black Ops 4 were poorly designed, with many of the maps being too large, and restricting players from maneuvering around the map and making successful flanks. Take Arsenal for example. This is probably one of the worst maps in Black Ops 4 in my opinion, simply because of the vents. The vents make it so hard to capture B because they're basically forcing you to go down mid, completely getting rid of the left side flank, and making it easier for the enemy team to predict where you're going to push. Another thing that I really disliked about the multiplayer was the new health system that they introduced, and it's not the concept of healing that I dislike about it, but rather the amount of health that each player has. The healing system is easy to learn, and I think it's something that most players can adapt to, but personally the amount of health that each player has is something that I really can't get used to, and has made me lose even more interest in the game. Next I want to talk about the lack of content in Black Ops 4 upon release. Right when I loaded up Black Ops 4, I could already tell there was less content than the previous Call of Duty titles, and there was a lot of things missing in the game that was supposed to be there on launch. The Black Market, Blackjack Shop, and Nuketown, as well as many of the pre-order bonuses that I paid for expecting to be in the game on launch, were not provided. And not to mention that many of these items, as well as updates, were released on PS4 7 days before all other platforms. So not only do we get DLCs after PS4, now we have to wait for game updates and content that should have been in the game on release. And it kind of makes me mad that I paid $110 for this game and they couldn't even provide me with my pre-order bonuses. So initially I felt like I paid for a broken game and was robbed of my money. And that takes me into my next topic of Treyarch and Activision abusing microtransactions. So in the past, it seemed like Call of Duty had always done a pretty good job of pricing their extra content, but with Black Ops 4 it seems like they've taken it to a whole nother extreme, especially with the Black Ops Pass. So like I said earlier, since the Black Ops Pass has so many tiers and it takes so long to tier up, this is going to cause a lot of players to want to pay their way through the Black Ops Pass. But it costs $200 to fully max out your Black Ops Pass from Tier 1 to Tier 200, and I feel like that's way too much money to charge the players because they've already paid $50 to unlock the Black Ops Pass. Not only this, but they're also charging way more for purchasable items in the store compared to Black Ops 3's store items, so it's just another way for Treyarch and Activision to get players to feed them more money. So overall, I really don't enjoy Black Ops 4, and personally I wouldn't recommend it to anyone interested. There are just too many flaws and the game was rushed, causing it to be buggy. I felt like it was a huge ripoff and a complete waste of my money. On a scale from 1 to 10, I would give it about a 4 to 5 out of 10, and I really don't see myself grinding it out in the future. The game is unredeemable to me, and even though it has potential, there are many things that still need to be fixed, but by the time they are fixed, it will be too late. I know this video is kind of short, but I really didn't have much to say about Black Ops 4, and obviously I didn't list off anything that I liked about it because I really couldn't think of anything, but if you disagree with anything that I said in the video, be sure to let me know in the comments, and if you like the video, subscribe for more.